Seems tricky for a PC and DM to achieve that. Very psychological. There are some liberties we have to take, Zulerpie, given that we're having to roleplay both DM and PC. It's not that difficult. I don't think we have to jump through too many mental hoops in order for Noirit to achieve this epiphany. Because all it really takes is a couple conversations on the side, in private with the player who is playing Noirit, in order to say, I'm accenting this, and this is a prompt I'm giving you, and I'd appreciate it if you could run with it in some direction. For it to occur naturally, Zulerpie, I think it'd be difficult. If that's the specific reaction you want. And of course, we're technically planning this to be a campaign and not a novel. Although this would be a fun NaNoWriMo project, wouldn't it? But yeah. It would be tricky to occur naturally in the course of a campaign with 5 individuals playing 5 different PCs and then of course the DM. Unless you have some kind of collusion or communication on the side with that player or the other players to help steer things in different directions, or to provide a prompt that that player can secretly approach but make it seem natural to the other players. And then you're kind of, all of them are playing off of each other that way. I'd suggest he fails and learns his friends will help him out. That could very well be a theme too, Zulerpie. I'm not against that as a theme either. Like, he's actually knocked down a peg instead. As a DM, you know, you want to be open-minded for that sort of stuff. Okay. Hey, Killer Sense of Humor. Gotta be careful, though. People take things personally. They can. Again, you know, even if we're plotting with some rose-colored glasses on, it's an expression I learned from my dad, although I'm sure it's ubiquitous or is manifested in other ways. If you want to shoot to the moon, aim for Mars. Because if you fall short of Mars, you'll still be on the moon. And this is a first draft of a campaign outline. So I think we want to set an overarching goal. And mind you, any campaign that you want to run as a DM, one sentence is really all you need. What's the one thing you want to have happen in your campaign? Everything else are going to be steps along the way. This is your lighthouse. This is your goal. That's your finish line. And if you always keep that in mind, it's a little easier, and it helps give you a lot of lateral wiggle room, right? You as a DM, you've hooked your players, and you want to get the fish. You want to land the fish in the boat. But the fish is wiggling back and forth. But it's slowly being drawn toward the boat and toward you. Yet, as it's fighting, it still believes it. I mean, I'm not saying this in a malicious sense. It has freedom. It does have movement, yet it's inexorably approaching the end of the line. Or in this case, the end of the storyline. Swifty, go ahead, point it out. If you fall short of Mars, you'll go into orbit around the sun for 5 billion years until it expands into a red giant and incinerates you. See? Fluffy Sheep gets it. Fluffy Sheep is optimistic. Doctor says, it took a quick look at your YouTube channel. I noticed all the character creations, but is there a video guide where you help go through the steps to create and flesh out the characters? Am I better off? Yeah. Choose a character that interests you and watch it, because we go through the process, step by step, with all of those videos, Doctor. Yep, there is a give and take. You learn to fill a line. Yep, exactly, Killer. What if the demonic take them over and kill himself before he gets to the goal? If you mean as the childhood friend of the urchin character, well, if you're running this as a DM, I suppose you could do that. Although I'd imagine as a DM you say, well, I'm saving this to be kind of a big reveal, and it would be anticlimactic if I did that beforehand. So it would be a DM decision, Swifty healers. Doc, thank you for finding us, and thank you for hanging out as long as you did. Have an awesome Saturday night, a great Sunday, and we'll be back at it. All of this week's characters are going to be uploaded tomorrow evening some point in time. Twitch gets its 24 hours first. And then if you are curious in these characters that you came in and watched, you can go through the character creation process with all of them. And look back at other characters we've created. If you want to see these ones, if you're finding that this story is compelling to you, you'll be able to watch them also. So thanks a lot for hanging out with us, Doc. And if there's anyone else who's new out there, if you're lurking or if this is entertaining you, I'm very glad. Oh, happy birthday to you, Killer. I hope you did something fun. Did you go to like a Japanese steakhouse where they made the food in front of you, or did you go out to like an aquarium or something as just a fun kind of random day out? Okay, that works too. Well, yeah, you can do something like that, Swifty. You can have it. You can seed that into the plot, and have that be a ticking clock for the PCs to realize that they have until X day to do Y thing before the devil can be fully manifested in another way, or something along those lines. You can put down countdown timers like that in a game. Rin says, I'm actually going to Kobe's next Sunday, taking that night off so you won't be streaming. Enjoy it, man. Enjoy the show, enjoy the food. If you're going with family or friends or significant others or whatever, have fun. Yeah, I guess that counts as a good birthday killer. Hi, Ernie Golem. I'm thinking about asking new players to submit their character at 10th level. I'll reverse engineer how I want to get there. I'll supply background from 0 if I know where we're headed. Okay. That would be a good way to go back and look at their sheets, interweave them, Irony Golem. And especially, well, depending if you want to have a session 0 or not. Or if your characters haven't already colluded with each other on how they want to get together, it would still give you a really good idea of who they are in this moment at the start of your level 10 campaign. And how you can hook them, how you can get them to interact with each other and stick together. You know, given all the things they can do at level 10, why are these 5 or whatever random strangers getting together for one overarching purpose? Oh, paintball. Yeah, paintball's fun. You get a couple welts you can hang on to for a little while, too. Those are the souvenirs that that come for free with the price of admission. Can you take a 2E dungeon and make it into a one-shot? Maps and whatnot don't... I mean, a map is a map. But the mechanics and the numbers are going to be what changes. So, you could, but again, you know, lines on a graph paper aren't 5th edition, and they aren't 2nd edition, and they aren't 3rd edition, or whatever. You just have to watch out, Swifty, that the math, that the concepts are in the edition in which you're playing. So, in 2nd edition, if it has a straight hallway with a pit trap in the middle of it, that can very well exist in 5th edition. Just don't use the stats that 2nd edition gives you for the pit trap. Irony. So Fluffy Sheep was talking to you, and Irony says, I was thinking all the level 1 trainers will conveniently be at the same zone so they meet. Well, conveniently meeting doesn't necessarily hook them into your story. What's the compelling reason that they are going to want to adventure together? Or be friends, or put their lives on the line? Mm-hmm. Yep, D&D time. Jeremy converts 4th edition one-shots, I think, into 5th edition content that he runs on the channel. Hey, there he is. Speak of the flump, and he shall manifest, and give you sagely advice that you must that you must trust. Your life depends on it. Daily is a flump summoner. Oh, you've been lurking? What have you thought about the story and the characters so far? Or am I putting you on the spot because you were like doing dishes in the background or something? If so, then don't worry about it. Arnie Golem says, ultimately, if you're unwilling to participate in a game, I can't force him. I hope to not get any loner dragonborn tieflings with bizarre new classes who hate groups. Yeah, I think that it's presumed, even if, you know, that we should be working towards this. There's a meta sense. As a DM, though, if you don't want any half dragonborn, half tiefling, unearthed arcana, multi-class, whatever, you're the DM and you set the rules. If you say PHB only, no multi-classing, PHB only, no multi-classing. You've been doing a bunch of stuff, but I'm liking the deeper motives for him. Nope, I understand. Your PC blew up, and that baby needs attention first. I gotcha. I didn't mean to put you on blast there. I realized as soon as I asked, people do other stuff while they listen. And so me shouting out someone who just came out of lurk mode probably means that he's doing something else, and considering the fact that your computer about opened a pathway to the Nine Hells itself, or a portal, you're probably busy in the background. So I didn't mean to put you on blast there. Daily lurks and plays games. Ooh, a multitasker. Ooh. By the way, Daily, am I still holding on to your minis, or do you want me to clear those to you? Irony says, if you just say, I'm a dwarf, I have lifetimes of trope and dwarf material to draw upon. Horn Demon Girl Tieflings is not bringing a lot of content with it. Fluffy says, well, I'm thinking more along the lines of, I give you a 10th level fighter and you say that they're a high-ranking general in the King's Army, but I wanted to play a grizzled mercenary captain. As a player, I'm going to be cranky. Yep, good. Yep, I agree, Killer. All right. Not that we have to stop talking about what's over here, but I'll move on and still respond to what you guys are talking about in the questions and other things that are coming up. All right. So using the Snowflake method of story creation, we've made our one-sentence summary of the plot, our paragraph-long summary, and then all 5 of our characters, we've gone through and we've given a summary of the elements we would like them to face over the course of the story. Now, our next project is to expand each sentence on the paragraph-long summary into its own paragraph. So let's take this. There we go. So, from the one paragraph, we're going to use, this is why brevity is important, we're going to then get 3 paragraphs to further expand our storytelling. Oh, snap. Oh, sure. Well, thank you very much. Which 2 would you like, Daily? I have Monster Menagerie. I have more than 2, but I have 2 here. And I also have Dragon Heist. Which ones would you like? One. All right. 1 and 1. Ultimately, killer sense of humor. The characters are on a morally ambiguous quest to achieve notoriety in Waterdeep. And from there, we've expanded the ideas slightly in different directions at once. Kind of like a snowflake, right? You get your drop of water, and as it freezes, it starts branching out into a design. That's what we're doing here. All right, Daily. Here is your first box. In fact, let's come over here, and here is Dragon Heist. Irony, I have to admit, for a pro gamer like you might meet here, the 1-with-1 game can be amazing. A thief lord with harems and politics. Not something 5 other people wait through while he is off alone. You know, yeah, running a one-on-one D&D session, or like a heads up, like a DM and one PC, that can be very fulfilling in its own way. You can get a lot of detail. Yeah, you can have a lot of fun with it. All right, daily. We are going to start with a cranium rat swarm. Cranium rats. They have their little brains are just kind of hanging out there. And by that I mean talk to the hand. There we go. Come on, focus. Cranium rats. Next up, speaking of summoning devils in Waterdeep, daily we have 2 different Cambion devils. We have one with a spear and one that's shooting like a lightning bolt or a magical spell out of its hand. So you have some devil twins here. Then lastly, daily, we have an Annis hag who is clutching onto a skull in its hand. There we go. An Annis hag. Has some skulls on the back. It's holding onto a skull itself. Which would you like out of this box? New modern example I found that explains the Dungeon Master is Alexa. There's a special form of language you use with Alexa with clear nouns and a demand on your part. Talk to your Dungeon Master like your Alexa, things get done. Alright, Daly wants the hag. He wants the hag and not the haggis. Fluffy sheep, you're safe. Now, let's pop open your Monster Menagerie box, Daly. Dun dun dun! Exactly, diadems. The unraveling of the bubble wrap. A time-honored tradition here on Matty Morgs. Okay, first up, we are starting off with a will-o-wisp on a flying stand. A will-o-wisp. It is a lot more bright green than this, but of course I have a chroma key behind me, so it is what it is. Next up, we have Jarhild Stoneforge. Or if you're in need for a dwarven fighter, a sword and board dwarf, female dwarf in particular, that's what this piece is. Next up, we have Bryn Lightfingers. A halfling duelist, it looks like. And lastly, daily, should you so choose, a gelatinous cube. Which, by the way, you can open the base and you can put a miniature inside the cube. Right? It has skeletons and stuff on the right here. And then you can put the cube on top to trap the mini inside. Giant Fire Beetle is the old game classic beetle, but not my favorite beetle. I feel like I have to use it anyway to respect tradition, says Irony Golem. I would like to glean the cube, please. Daily? 1 hag and 1 cube are going to get packed up and sent along its way to you, including Mr. Xanathar himself, right? The most recent is a super watered down one. Fluffy Sheep, you must restore it. Rekindle the fire beetle. Make fire beetles great again, sir. Beowulf, hello. Let's see. I do not see a question from you, Beowulf. And unfortunately, what Twitch does is it'll send it and not let you know that it didn't send. So you might need to copy like half of it, paste it, copy the other half, give it like 5 seconds so that a bot doesn't time you out, and then send the other portion. But hello again, Beowulf. It's good to see you back. Alright, I can't think of any other way to say it. The patent for Dungeons & Dragons was purchased by whoever, and they're not the greatest game minds to date. I don't consider 5e even as good. Declining quality, says Irony. Well, everyone likes this or that. Beowulf, hey Matt, I hope you're doing well. I am, thank you. Smiley face back to you. I have another question for you in the chat. Speaking on my campaign that you have helped me with before, one of my players has told me from the start he plans on becoming an Oathbreaker Paladin. So during one of our first encounters with the big boss, I had him banished briefly to Tiamat's realm, and he witnessed Tiamat in the flesh. They have hit level 3 now, and it's time to do the whole oath breaking. Can you think of a good way to have him break his oath and move towards Tiamat? Yeah, so really, unless you are allowing him to just move, you're treating an oath breaker as an oath to Tiamat, and it's its own thing. He hasn't really had an oath to break yet. Kind of like what Fluffy Sheep said. Diadem's nothing like a nice 1989 reference to get the old folks like me going. Well, I feel bad. I think I missed your reference about the cube. Yeah, some DMs might just allow you to go into Oathbreaker, and so then you could just say, oh, it's an oath to Tiamat, or an oath to evil, or an oath to death. That way. But otherwise, if he wants to break an oath, he has to swear an oath first, and then betray it. So maybe he saw Tiamat, maybe he says, oh, that's terrible. And instead he swears to be a white knight of light and justice and rainbows and unicorns. But for the next couple levels, Tiamat, you know, that power continues to allure him, right? If only he was stronger, he could have saved that village that he really wanted to save. If only he had, you know, if only he was allowed to act on his heart and not a set of dusty written rules, he could have saved people. And that eats at the character. And suddenly they look at the oath that they took, and it doesn't look so shiny and new anymore. In fact, they might even resent that oath. And that's when we have a case of a broken oath. Well, Irony, I think we've all been there and had similar thoughts, right? Diadems might have to adopt your gelatinous cube. I have 1 or 2 gelatinous cubes on the side, Diadems. I have them in one of the boxes. We popped 1 or 2. Yeah, I really hope that helps you, Benewolf. You know you're always welcome to lurk or participate, or hey, if you take a break, go and play, come back and let us know how that goes. Fluffy, I do agree. Yeah, no problem, Diadems. They might very well be lurking around still. You never know about those oozes. Daily, thank you very much for that stream support and the mini. The minis that you adopted from the orphanage or that you sponsored from the boxes. I very much appreciate that, and the other miniatures that you've picked up along the line. Your support and others who have adopted minis, opened boxes, even those who are new here, if you're lurking, even just chatting about an edition, or we're talking about storytelling or things like that. I'm very honored by your presence and your participation, and that I have earned your attention and your trust, and that you feel comfortable in this setting. So, thank you very much. All right, so we have taken apart our initial paragraph, and we're going to make a paragraph out of each of the sentences now. So, Noirit gathers the services of the others in order to prove himself to his family. He asks around for those who are willing, I guess maybe brave enough to conspire against nobles. Due to their personal reasons that he does not initially know, Noirit obtains the services of let's see, Syrav and Urafina. Before going on to also hire the grizzled Kirsch. Elena comes along finally once she is approached by the noble dwarf seeking her non-tumbling services. Non-yumbling, apparently. Not even tumbling. She yumbles. I don't even know what yumbles is. Can I say that on Twitch? Together, they delve through political intrigue in Waterdeep, which leads them to a cult who are summoning devils. This begins the climax of the story, where moral choices carry more weight than spreading rumors and courtly shenanigans. I spelled that incorrectly. Now the party is cemented in a fierce new reality of how things are in Waterdeep that compels them personally as well as threatens all their lifestyles in the city. So I should do this to make sure that you can see how this flows. Even though we took sentences, we broke them apart, and yet it still always flows. They'll have to fight through the rift to seal it and save the city, winning honors should they survive. The battle reaches its height as they the battle and their morals both reach epiphanies as they make a decision about what to do, not just with the cultists, but the devil with which they were dealing. The portal should be shut from both sides, necessitating a fight in the hells that will test them and have them hopefully be reborn into Faerun that much wiser. Sorry, I was narrating and typing here. Irony Golem, if you have Twitter, it's a good read from 10 hours ago at Mike Merles. Diadem's Eye is Poor. Killer, yeah, is still hang you out. Also, Thor would be on my side and most likely be the one hanging you out to dry. Just be glad I am not your DM. Irony, even question the druid, just a modded priest. Why have it? Daily, yeah, I feel like I just feed the orphanage more folks. No, don't look at it that way, Daily. It's fine, we'll find them homes. Grammar, change gathers to gathered, past tense whenever possible. You do realize Thor's lawful good, right? Or this is future action plan? I mean, I was writing stream of consciousness. I can change verb tenses, Irony, no problem. Diadems, Yumbles, careful, Maddie. Oh, I know. Terms of Service 18 might catch me for saying Yumbles. Oh, I said it again. I'm so dirty. Thor is complex. He's chaotic good. Batman and Joker. Joker just chases cars not knowing what he'd do if he caught one. Batman has a 40-year plan to fix Gotham. Batman doesn't really have a 40-year plan. Thor's a violent alcoholic who murders people for being giants, but as an Asgardian, they're probably the same species he is. And Swifty is from Asgard. In my game, Asgardians are just the most handsome mountain giants. His billions would be better spent on other ways than dressing up and playing superhero, says Killer. Irony, frost giants and fire giants, about the same size, but Thor is a Monty Hall player character with +5 weapons. He murders them. IRL, I live breath the Asgard Vikings lifestyle. Oh, like you live and breathe the Viking lifestyle? Well, all right. So Swifty may not be getting into longboats and sacking English hamlets on misty mornings, but it does sound like there is a it does sound like that there's a A wistfulness to it. Alright, so now, with this as an expansion, we can go back and refine the characters a little bit more. And, you know, so Zulerpai and others brought up, well, could Noirite Bannister, reach this epiphany? What else could we add? What else could we refine? You know, in the wake of this, that they're gathered together. Whoops, was this bold? Nope, there we go. Killer Sense, I live and breathe academia. Oh, you like My Hero Academia too, Killer? Ah, yes. Another rare case where someone lives more northerly than I do. So, hello, northern neighbor. Nobody here would enjoy imagining ancient romantic lifestyles. Don't be silly. Yeah, that's right. We're keeping this real. Fluffy sheep, you are absolutely correct. And you know what? For a fluffy sheep, you sure are sentient and talk about good things all the time. Now, as for refining characters, I don't know how much with these blurbs that there's really for us to refine, especially because we do have the meta sense that we are plotting for a campaign and not for a novel. If we're writing a novel, there's a lot more I think we can go back and dictate will happen to the characters. But what we might be able to do is make a couple lists here of... How about refinement plot points? These are things that the characters should probably encounter at some point in time along the journey. And we can even put a bunch of these points out there and then arrange them in an order to give us some kind of an outline if we wish to do so. And we have a cat, everyone. We have a cat. Now I understand about your character. I got you, Swifty. Noirite could propose a strategy that would be a disaster, and the PC who had experience with that outcome stops him. Something like that, says Zulerpai. Hi. Thank you for joining us. Have you been enjoying the show also? I hope so. There we go. No, you're fine. Lay down. You can flop on your side and put your paws on my belly. There we go. There we go. All right. Well, so he could make that proposal, but what would be... How could we refine that, Zulerpai, as a plot point? So, for example, at some point in time, Noirite needs to see his aspirations for the corrupt decadence they are. Right? You know, so he's like, oh, I wish I could go to the big noble conferences because I hear all this stuff happens. You know, they eat all this food and they have the best wine and they talk about stuff, and then, you know, they have an after party where people do things in a greater than PG-13 fashion. And he's like, I want that. I want that. And then he sees, oh, this is what happens? Maybe I don't want that anymore. Maybe I'm actually kind of happy playing Waltz of the Myconids for kids in the Dock District. Because that actually brings him happiness. Not to be a part of some throbbing pile of nobles in the middle of a ballroom. Why are they summoning the demons? For power and influence, Killer. At least as the broad sense that we've made them a part of the story. Fluffy Sheep, someone's always summoning demons. And then demons are always summoning demons, too. The experienced military PCs tells Noirit that you can't BS your way in battle. Okay, so how would that be a plot point that we as a DM can introduce? I get what you're saying, Zulurpai, and I think it makes sense for interactions. How can we boil that down into a plot point that we as a DM can introduce? Swifty, but what if the devil doesn't take over him and he broke the devil hold on him? Well, so, Swifty, for purposes of being a dungeon master, if we want to tell a story where devil summoning is important, I mean, you can consider that, but it would be important for us to keep this as a big event that's going to happen, as an inevitability, maybe even a timer of sorts that is counting down and placing some pressure on the PCs to act. So, while those are possibilities, as a DM, we probably don't want to undermine ourselves. In that regard. Let's see. Kirsch. Should visit. Or should stumble across one other survivor who has some information hidden in his ramblings. Maybe he was driven mad. He's lived on the streets for a great long while, and maybe even Kirsch puts him out of his misery after getting some information from him, out of respect. You have to be careful when the demons start summoning each other. You can easily end up with far too many demons. Yep. You know how it goes. Those demons are like rabbits. Maybe even like demon rabbits. Or rabbit demons. The entire labor market for demons can collapse. You have hundreds of demons in the unemployment line. Mass chaos. No such thing as oops. Revealing your plot to take over the world. Oh, yeah. Pinky in the brain. Brain, 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 brain. A plot point for Syrav needs to see that the guild doesn't care about him as much as he does about them. In the demon story is the nature of a fully constructed campaign. Each alignment, compass, point has their share of power. When chaotic evil tries to consume Midgard, the lawful good gods will surely spend some of that fat worship mana stopping it. Elena as the courtesan makes the connection between her obsidian gift and the nature of, if we would call it a devil, a pit fiend or something, the devil being, whoops, summoned. And a plot incident for Urafina. The pet ooze she has kept as an urchin reveals something important to her. Irony will take care of all your demon problems on the cheap. And so, all right, we can take points like this, and then we can, we can add a couple more. The DM waves his hand, and they go poof. That's right. That's the ultimate power as a DM. Poof. No more demons. No more demons. Isn't that right? No more demons, huh? Oh, you're so sleepy. You're so sleepy. Thank you for joining me. Like, how many huge temples does the god of kobolds even have? Not many. You're smashing one. He might just show up. Yeah, he's not too busy, you know, I'm in one of my 100 grand temples of the kobolds. Maybe that's why Yenogu is so scary. Because how many of those does Yenogu hang out in for gnolls? Meanwhile, you go to like a Church of Palor, and Palor could be in any one of these. So then I wonder, if we take incidents like this, I wonder if we could quickly construct kind of a, even if it's a kind of loose and fast, can we construct a vague timeline of plot points that we would like to introduce now that we have our snowflake? We've built our snowflake. So if we start here, what are the points that we can take as we go along the natural results of all of these things that are happening to bring things back around? I mean, maybe the heroic journey could be layered in, Freitag's pyramid, other storytelling techniques, the midpoint method. But we've done a good brainstorming session. So we could even do things like gang gets together. And then we come down here, and we don't know how many steps there is, but then the pit fiend is banished forever. There's a beginning and an end. We can go to the middle. We can constantly refer back to our summaries up above. So the gang gets together. First job is to get info on some low nobles, nombles, to spread rumors. Something kind of easy. There's probably not going to be a lot of combat. I would imagine, though, that this mod would probably pick up at least around level 6 or so. Right? They already have skill. They've already done this for a while. But now they're going to do something in an organized fashion. It might also help explain if you want a session 0. Maybe everyone is level 5. You get together and you have this sort of pre-adventure, a one-shot, that brings everyone together, brings them to level 6, and then session 1 is level 6. Ars Fantastica, hello, welcome. I recommend lots of collecting animals and setting things on fire, possibly at the same time. It's a tried and true method, Fluffy Sheep. Forever is a really long time, at least 3 days. Hey, Games Pact. As a player, I want to change the Kobold's class into the Muluk class. I don't know what that is, Swifty Healers. Finding a noble that's been sacrificed. Yeah, so it could be something to spread rumors. Noble pays them to stay quiet. Group moves on. Second nomble. My cat's not helping me. Our second nomble, apparently. Second noble, investigated, found dead, odd circumstances. Then we have third noble ends up referring to second's circumstances. Crew digs deeper. Finds I guess like a house of devil, like a warehouse or something. Finds a house of devils that were summoned. Deals with them. Finds clues about greater nobles. Sneaks in on initial ritual to learn about it, not final summoning. Assassination attempt. Red herring. Possibly slighted noble from the beginning. For tension and to throw off the suspicion as they resolve their pursuers. Need to travel elsewhere for some training and or tools in order to fight greater devils. And that could be done through the Xanathar Guild or something like that, where they need to go and get equipment. Does it have to be a MacGuffin? Not necessarily. Actually, they already have one. That obsidian piece is kind of a MacGuffin. But maybe this is a time for downtime or powering up. as they're waiting for the nobles to get together. Because acting alone, the nobles might actually have Cambions as bodyguards that are disguised as very beautiful men and women in attendance. And so striking at the nobles that way is probably not a plan that they can pursue. So instead, they have to wait for all of them to gather and then possibly spoil the ritual or foul it in such a way that they either scatter and give it up, or the temple collapses on them, or maybe their lives are taken as sacrifice instead of innocence. And then that could lead to a couple different outcomes. Early on, they find a safe house where these evil rich nobles who devil worship are storing some of the girls they plan to sacrifice to open the great portal. Girls, paid guards, no actual demons. R says, I'll be durned if there's not a cult of Asmodeus led by some rich nobles dabbling in the dark arts who accidentally summon something horrible. And R's fantastic, agrees with the irony. Player with underworld contacts, a seasonal ceremony, like a 10th level spell, opening this greater gate, takes wagon loads of crazy things, candles, spices. The shipping of these rare things will alert the informed. Yeah, it could be leading to a big ceremony like that, irony, and that could provide for some investigation and infiltration as well. Investigation, infiltration into the final summoning. Initial fight ends with them being drawn into the portal to hell. Boss fight in hell, which would actually kill the devil because it's on its own home plane. Pit Fiend is banished forever. A mad race against time to make it back to the portal before it closes, trapping them in hell forever. Dun dun dun! So here's some very basic plot points. And these plot points could give a lot of leverage to the various players here. They can highlight their skills, their interests, their flaws. Our courtesan can gather information. Our member of the Xanathar's Guild can pursue leads. I think that there's a lot here. I think there's a lot here that this party could work with to still get to this end. Come back, possibly, as heroes of the city, if not innocuous ones, that the other nobles are willing to pay off for silence, as to cover the transgressions of their kinfolk. If you want a bittersweet ending, how about that? They're big damn heroes, according to Firefly. They traveled to hell. They fought the Pit Fiend, and they managed to make it back. But instead of being marched through Waterdeep with a ticket tape parade, you might even have members of the masked lords of Waterdeep come and tell them, this is hush hush. Here's an exorbitant amount of money, and this is never going to be brought up again. With an implied implication that if the PCs ever do bring up what happened here, they probably won't be residents of Waterdeep for too long. But thank you, but we're fair. Thank you, and here's a massive reward. How about that for an ending? I mean, obviously, if your PCs want to be the big damn heroes, you give them the ticker tape parade. But if you think that they can handle kind of a political intrigue twist like that at the end, wouldn't that be fun, huh? Ars, I think I'm going to write an infiltration campaign adventure thingy now. Yeah, you're welcome for the inspiration, Ars. Someone needs to sacrifice themselves in order to keep a portal open. Oh, yeah. If you want to have a tragic twist, which one of these characters who have each come to some sort of personal realization, all 5 of these characters are flawed. None of them are Mary Sue's. None of them are flawless, perfect whatevers. What if one of them does have to stay behind? What if one of them does have to give up something along those lines? How about that? Ars, I like the way you think. Oh, speaking of devils, hi, Ars. So, Ars Fantastica. The next time you do !random UDark, the letter U, D-A-R-K for Underdark, if you beat your next Underdark adventure, because that's where devils live, is in the Underdark, right? Kind of. They live underground in hell. I will double your experience points you win if you choose to adventure there. Oh, there you go. A killer. Whichever adventure you go on next, if you win, I will double your EXP. Well, if you want to go to the Underdark, it's !random UDark. Darkness, but not silence. What? Your answer appears as an illithid. Only a 16 or greater can defeat it. You attack with disadvantage, adding a +4 modifier. Oh no! Ars, you got your brain eaten. Arnie Golem says, I had a story that was something like this. Or something like this. In mine, using Waterdeep this time, the bad guys with gates snatch from the plane of limbo the Slod mating stone. Since matter in limbo is manifested mind, it is their stolen will to mate. Their whole Slod megacity is now gating into frenzy berserk and get their stone back. The threat is yeah, I'll say so. Plus, everyone's going to get infected with tadpoles, and it's going to be chaos and quite a mess. Ars Fantastic, I hope it's... As it's eating your brain, the last words that come out of your mouth are, I hope you starve. Yeah, so there we go. We have a campaign, my friends. Now, it's a skeleton of a campaign. This is enough, though, that you could take this and run with this on your own if you really wanted to. You know, if you want to do more with the red herring of the first noble that they slighted comes back, maybe that's its own little mini-boss fight that we didn't account for on this list. Maybe you want to develop something else. Maybe randomly, during their search, the City of the Dead gets disturbed, and they have to go on a bit of an undead hunt for something. Or, if not an undead hunt, you can just run a classic dungeon set in a cemetery and make them all kind of pee their pants are going to run into undead, when that's actually... they just run into some grave robbers that have set up shop. You can do a lot with this kind of storytelling. And I do hope, Ars, I'm glad this was inspirational, and I hope for a lot of you else out there that you were able to take this storytelling method, right? How to explore the characters, how to set up an outline. Because, look... a plan is a list of things that'll go wrong. If you try to micromanage a campaign, you are going to have a tough time. You don't have to take my word for it, but I hope that you do. So if you keep a list of broader goals, what's the next thing that I want to get to, and how can we get there in a way that satisfies the party? Everyone wins. As a DM, you get your story. As a PC, you get your character development. Hey, Derek! Diadems! Same for you. The next time you go into the Underdark, if you beat it, I'll double your EXP. Derek, we made a devil summoning campaign in Waterdeep. We brought together the characters. It has been a good night, man. Lots of energy. I hope that you're doing well. I hope you're happy, you're healthy, and you're having a good weekend too. Uh-oh, Diadems. Oh, the Illithid that ate Ars Fantastica's brain attacks you now. Alright, Diadems, this Illithid is armed with everything Ars Fantastica knows. What are you going to do about it? Diadem's brain. Well, Ars and Diadems are talking together inside the Illithid's belly. Glad to hear someone's having a good night. Oh, well, Derek, is there anything we can do to improve yours? I hope your brain doesn't get eaten by an Illithid, Derek. That's happened to Diadems and Ars Fantastica so far. Technical TPK the system. They dragged an invisible Quasit into the ambush they managed to counter. Oh no! Is that a story you're willing to go a little bit more in depth about, Derek? It was obviously still looking for food after eating my meager gray matter. Oh, jeez, Ars. What's it going to do with Diadems now? No, they just had to flavor BS my way through to keep the party alive but captured. If they're newbies, I understand, Derek, and I would have done the same thing. If they're experienced players, I imagine you would have called it a TPK there if they did that. Sounds a little bit like what's happening in my Curse of Strahd right now. Arnie Golem, another one you did might be able to use. I was doing Demon Web Pit stuff. Lolth shows up pretending to be Corellian Leviathan of Elves, tells party to lower the saves and gate off together to defeat evil. She took them to her plane. The devil needs to be here already, disguised as the heroic help. He suckers them to hell, where they kill him, close the gate, and escape home. That kind of reminds me, Irony. I kind of... Would Lolth ever lower herself to look like Corellian Leviathan? I wonder if she'd ever do that. Although it kind of reminds me of something that Derek talked about that he was going to be doing in regards to an imp. Oh, there you go, Diadems. I don't know how you're going to do it as a wizard without a brain, but at least they were able to bring you back. Lolth is not very nice. No, she's not. As much as people might want a spider waifu, Lolth is... Lolth is not the best spider waifu you could have. Maddie just enjoys turning characters into vampires. Hey, in Curse of Strahd, one willingly offered herself to Strahd. The other ones died in Castle Ravenloft, and things are happening. As I've updated that in my adventure diary. You're kicking myself because they were doing fine, being cautious, doing very well, but then the last bit they rushed through and got caught. Hey, it could be a learning lesson. Did you put another captured NPC like, oh, you got caught in that too, huh? Yeah, I hate it when that happens. It was a rookie mistake. I should have done X, Y, and Z. And then he's hauled off to be, I don't know, drow food or something. And then they learn a lesson, and they try and beat a hasty retreat, but not too hasty. Ours, I turned Storm King's Thunder into an epic version of Against the Giants, featuring Lolth and a plan to bring the realms into the abyss. Diadem's technicality, man. So maybe, what if your brain is a ghost inside your mortal shell? Could your brain just be a ghost? That could be interesting. Never thought about that. Diadems is going into a dungeon as a male undead wizard. Hopefully you'll get out of the way of this falling rock. You need a 12 or greater. You have disadvantage though. And Diadems, newly reanimated as an undead wizard, gets squished by a boulder.